how do they do this? Like, how do they indoctrinate us? Like, how do they get in our mind? I really got to understand. So long story short, I came across this picture of an iceberg. It said something like our conscious thoughts is like 10%, and then our subconscious thoughts is like 90%. And although it's not accurate, it's not those actual percentages. The whole iceberg analogy was popularized by Freud, Sigmund Freud. Iceberg moment and the analogy of that is a metaphor for the mind. Conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg, because you know there's that whole analogy that we only see the tip of the iceberg, but the real iceberg is what's underneath, and that's the largest part of it, usually hidden. It's the ideology that the conscious mind, which is the tip of the iceberg, that part that we can see of ourselves, the outcome of the trauma or whatever it is, the input in us, the preconceptions, which are the subconscious, and that's what's going to influence our mind. That's the memories, the stored knowledge, the emotions that can be brought to awareness from the subconscious, the preconscious mind. And then we move into the unconscious mind, which is the deepest part of the psyche. This is where our instincts lie, our drives, passions, pursuit, repressed desires, and automatic processes. With the iceberg analogy, I want to make it clear that Freud didn't literally quantify it as 10 and 90%. That ratio has come from a popular shorthand in psychology and popular culture, and it's a metaphor, not a hard neurological fact. I want to make that clear first, but I am going to be using that ideological concept of the iceberg for us to understand that's where all of the trauma lies and sits, the indoctrination, which is rooted in our subconscious, in the depth of our psyche. And so when we see outcomes like mental health or, you know, psychosis or whatever it is, you know, the offline, the delusional thinking, all of that, that's the outcome, the isolation from family and friends as a result of the indoctrination. That can also personify the behavior of the members, because a lot of what goes on, it's like in the subconscious, but it's also behind the scenes. We don't see it. Do you know what I mean? That's all the mystical manipulation, the meetings that they have, because there's endless meetings. And that is a huge part of the indoctrination process that I don't think gets spoken about enough. So let's get into it, Chair. First of all, I want us to understand conscious, subconscious, and then the cult experience. And then I'm going to go back to looking at the neuroscience and cult psychology in relation to the subconscious manipulation, indoctrination, etc., in relation to cults specifically. I want to say that this is really important to understand, because all the indoctrination, everything like that, it's all in the subconscious, okay? So and I see that a lot of survivors are still severely indoctrinated and still given a lot of power to these magicians. So I really just want to give some basic psychology so that people can break free of these, you know, just delusions, okay? Conscious, subconscious, and the cult experience. When we talk about the mind, it helps us imagine it like an iceberg. What we see above the water is our conscious mind. It is only a small fraction of what guides us. The majority is beneath the surface. It is our subconscious. This is where memories, emotions, fears, beliefs, and patterns are stored, often outside of our awareness. This is where, like, your dreams will sit, you know, if you're unconscious, etc. So now we're going to get into the fathers of psychology for you to get a background. So that's Freud and that's Jung. You might have learned this at school, but there's a lot of young people getting indoctrinated in kids. So they probably don't know this, Share. Carl Jung expanded this with the concept of the collective unconscious. This psychology described the mind as being divided into conscious, pre-conscious, and unconscious layers. Conscious mind is our immediate awareness. The subconscious or unconscious mind contains repressed experiences, desires, and memories that still influence our behavior. So do you see how the indoctrination, which is stored in our unconscious, Jung, which is my favorite psychologist, I'd recommend everybody look at his works, shared archetypal patterns that shaped our experiences, dreams, and reactions. Jung recognized that the subconscious is not only personal, but also deeply symbolic, influencing how we interpret the world around us. When they take full control of our subconscious mind, that directly impact conscious, which is our behavior. That's where it all sits. Do you understand what I'm saying? So ultimately, it's like the invisible. They're taking over the invisible, the things that can't be seen, and they're controlling the visible things, the tangible things. And similarly, they sell us invisible blessings. And when it comes to us doing something, it's all tangible: money, your times, you know, your efforts, whatever it is. Okay, so this is why I really want people to start to get to think at like a higher collective consciousness now, because they've ruined a generation. Our community has been ruined. There's no generational wealth building. We're only starting to recover from it now. Like the millennials, we were all like severely indoctrinated, man, in the 2000s. It's sad. My dreams are so vivid. Yeah, I don't even have dreams, girl. So in a cult environment, these concepts matter because the rituals, chants, repetitive teachings, and fear-based prophecies deeply interact with both the conscious and the subconscious mind. How rituals and fear shape the mind. So cults manipulate both the conscious and the subconscious to maintain control. Repetition and rituals, repeating prayers, chants, or attending long sessions, activities, meetings, activates your subconscious learning pathways. So it opens you up. The repetition, the rituals, the repeating, the mind altered practices, it makes you more susceptible and opens you up to subconscious learning pathways. Okay, this is neuroscience and psychology. Your brain begins to associate obedience with safety, approval, or spiritual reward. Statements about disloyalty, divine punishment, or mystical consequences activate the amygdala, the brain's fear center. The amygdala strengthens memories of fear and danger, making them vivid and emotionally charged. Nancy, didn't you just say that my dreams are so vivid? Sleep disruption, long sessions, early morning rituals, sleepless nights, or sensory overload reduce prefrontal cortex activity, the area responsible for rational thinking and executive control. This makes the conscious mind less able to critically evaluate the leader's words. So this is why there's a lot of sleep deprivation, long sessions. They like to do up camps as well. They take them away to these camps for like 3 days. And that's like I call it like a MK Ultra like style indoctrination, where it's like heavy duty, fast track indoctrination for 3 days straight. You don't sleep, you don't eat, you don't really have breaks. I seen Proton had some canteen or whatever, but the my cult and other ones like Caris, you don't get time to eat. You get it? You're very sleep deprived. It's far away as well. It's usually taking you like 3 to 4 hours to just get to the place. Then you've been working all week. So all of that opens you up. It's like they're grooming you, they're preparing you for the indoctrination. The more sleepy you are, the more you enter into a mind altered state, which is unlocking your subconscious mind for those learning pathways. Ultimately, then a lack of critical thinking, you're just doing up, believing in everything that the cult leaders saying, because your mind, your brain is just getting rewired. There's so much information, there's so many different tactics and things that they're doing up, that you just become on autopilot, you just become a robot. The subconscious encodes fear, obedience, and ritual as automatic truth. So you know the brain, is it beta waves? You know it like there's different like patterns and things that your brain, can make depending on your experiences, etc. So as they're indoctrinating you and you're getting these, but you think they're new experiences, but they're new experiences through fear-based programming and indoctrination, and they're rewiring your brain to see fear and obedience as love. So for example, in my cult, there's a loyalty and disloyalty thought reform program, and that is through the transcendent belief system, which is the overarching vision of the cult: win the lost at any cost. Hey my love. And so what that's about is teaching us that loyalty is to the highest authority. So it's through fear and obedience that you show your love and your loyalty. So do you see how they've decoded, twisted and manipulated the scriptures through mystical manipulation to make us see loyalty as love? And it also gets us to see rituals as automatic truth, and these deeply ingrained patterns shape our behavior. So these are the patterns that all the brain waves start making, sending all the signals to the body and whatever, and we're not using certain parts of the brain and they're just taking over our mind completely through instructions, our time. When you look at Stephen Hassan's bite model, it shows how they assert authoritarian control across our behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. All right. Do you see how this is all connected, guys, and how this is all shaping? Oh my God, look, it just says it right here. And these are deeply ingrained patterns that shape behavior through thought and emotion long after leaving the cult. So again, do you see why it's important to refer to the bite model and the influence continuum? Because we can clearly see the patterns, what they were doing. Therefore, we are able to make sense of and understand our experience and what we went through. It's that processing. it's making sense of what happened in that environment and be freed from it, because a lot of it was just it's just deception. They're magicians. It's all illusion in there. Like nothing is real. And this is why you have to know about the subconscious, the psyche, like a bit of psychology, because they do, especially Dag Eward Mills, he knows a lot about it. They do up information control, and they just they like take over your mind psychologically, so you will only go to the information that is signposted and authorized by them. There's like hidden laws and rules, so there'll be like certain books that you should be reading, or you know, and in our cult it's just all about Dag anyway, so there's so much information control, but the leader gets all of this access to all of this information, then he filters it down to us, he does up propaganda, then he does a little bit of mystical manipulation, puts it in a book, and then he puts it out there as like the law. That's what our cult leader does. He's RADICAL chair. That man is Mazza. I've been learning some words from the young people, but I wouldn't even say he's cooked. I'm going to say he's fried, yeah. Subconscious and our daily lives. The subconscious governs habits, emotional reactions, and decisions, often before our conscious mind realizes it. So do you see why they want to get into the subconscious mind, guys? Because it's this realm, it's this sphere of self that governs the habits, the emotions, the reactions, the decisions, part of self, which is our psyche. Okay, this is why I said to you guys that when we're looking at cults, this is a human phenomenon, because it's the study of human behavior. Yeah, baby, Dagger loves to do a book launch. Lynn's braids. Do I see 200 pounds? Is that 200 pounds? 200 pounds? 100 pound in the back. 100 pounds. Do I see 50 in the corner in the far left? 20 pounds? That's what they do. It's like a book launch. It's like a book auction. It's a literal book auction, chair. The book's worth it probably cost them about £1 to make, and then they sell it to us at like £500. Do you understand? Like that's the starting point. So when they're talking about 100-fold blessings, they really are getting that, because it's invisible blessings. So that whole analogy is true, but the leaders, the cult leaders, the monks, they're getting that 100-fold blessing, because it's like invisible, like they're making money off invisibility. That's why I call them magicians. All right. In the cult, repeated exposure to fear-based messaging, prophecies, and mystical claims conditions the subconscious to respond with anxiety or guilt automatically, interpret ordinary events through the cult's lens, reinforce loyalty even in the face of contradictory conscious knowledge. All right. Ooh, this is hot, baby. And this is why I'm saying again, do you see the delusions that are coming into it as well? There's a lot of different tactics that come into this, and again, do you remember, it's all invisible, because the things that they give to us is all invisible, because they're literally reprogramming our subconscious mind. Thank you, Signed AF. You're such an underrated academic. You should be a lecturer on universities. Oh my God, you're such a queen. Thank you, my love. But do you know what? Do you know what I should call this? Because you know there's some content creators that have their own little university online. Have you seen that? We should just start our own, innit? Should we just call it the Collective University? Should we just start our own online? We might as well, innit, guys? Because I'm doing my book. It would be really good to do programs alongside that, which I think I'm gonna start that in, maybe, I don't know when I'm gonna start that, but I've just come up with the idea as I've been online, and that is because of Signed AF. Thank you so much. Well, it was a shared collective idea. Look at Lynn's bridge. She said, it sounds good. Yes, girl, you gon' get it, baby. I need to get the fact. I have all the qualifications and experience to lecture. I could be lecturing at loads of different universities. So I think that needs to be the next step, because, you know, I just feel like, you know, that if I structure this and shape this a little bit more, and then, you know, I'm going to put some thought into this. I'm going to put some thought into it, because I will still keep doing the lives like this, but I think I'm going to have like, and so you are still going to get the university vibe. Don't get it twisted. But I think I am going to do like, because the culturals do come in and disrupt the lives and stuff. So I'm going to do some sessions as subscription only as well. Yeah. And I will just do it at whatever the cheapest option is, guys, because I just think it will help us to concentrate a little bit more and have a little bit more of a closed space. All right. So let's get it, guys. Thanks for liking the live. Ooh, look at y'all. Y'all are getting into it. Yes, Chad. Ooh. So this will kind of be like the intro to give people like a taster, I suppose, of what's to come. You see, this is God. I didn't even know that this was going to be what it is, yeah. But look at signed AF. This is what I'm saying, man. This is why this is beautiful, what we've got. All right. So do you see how they're rewiring the brain through the fear-based programming and all the other bits and bobs that they do? And they are rewiring the brain to respond with anxiety or guilt automatically. Okay. So this is why they're always in fight or flight response, because they're in survival mode. They're walking on eggshells. They're dealing with a malignant narcissistic leader. Nothing is ever right. Nothing is ever wrong. They're giving inordinate amounts of their time, plus working full time. They're not sleeping. They're not eating. You know, they're not even caring about their appearance because they're so immersed into the setting. It's so hyper religious. And again, interpreting the ordinary events through the cult lens. I think, you know, really simple things. It's so sad, like getting a house, marriage. And I'm not saying that you can't thank God, but there's no common sense in there. So it's like is indirectly programming them, because remember, they make the cult synonymous with God. So the cult is indirectly programming you to give them all the glory through like that reward system thing. So in your mind, in your subconscious psyche, like all of the programming and all the indoctrination behind the scenes that you're listening to in your sleep, this, that, and the third, is telling you it's because of the covering, it's because of the blessings. And then they're telling you it's because you're doing the work of the Lord. And then you got to remember, everybody comes in there in trauma or crisis. So it's not people coming from 2.0 families, middle class. It's very rarely. Like the celebs that you will find in there, they've come from traumatic backgrounds, because that's what I found. That's the common denominator across all the different, no matter what social class status you are, because you could be in the richest 5%, but if you're struggling to conceive and you've had a lot of you know, that hasn't gone forward, and there is a girl who's from the ghetto, but she has gone through the same thing as you guys are going to connect. There's going to be a trauma bond. There's going to be a connection at that level. So, you know, when we look at trauma, that's what transcends race and, you know, social class and whatever. It's like it's a human phenomenon, because it's individual, and everybody, you know, reacts to trauma, their body, their mind, whatever, differently. Okay. So that is why, you know, speaking about this and deconstructing it and really breaking down the theory behind this, it's social science. Because as I always say, the study of cults is the study of human behavior, which is a phenomenon. Okay. And so it takes a social scientist to be able to research and look into, you know, study, investigate, whatever, to understand why people do the things that they do. And ultimately, unfortunately for Dag, God planted me in there like a seed, and now I'm doing just that with mega church cults. All right. So start to think of it as they rewire the brain, what happens is you begin to see the world through the psychosocial lens of the cult leader. Okay. And that is through the lens of a malignant narcissist who has a very dark mind. And that is all about control, ego, power, etc. Okay. So they want you to see the world as EVIL, because that's us versus them, to demonize it so that he can keep you in that bubble of psychosis, trapped in the self-sealing system, so that you ultimately feed that narcissistic supply that the cult leader needs, especially the malignant narcissist, because they've got traits of psychopathy. They need like a greater supply. Think of it this way. Your brain has been trained to listen first, think later. When it comes to the cult's messaging, this is why guilt, fear, and anxiety can persist long after leaving. So don't let that go over your head, guys. Yeah, we're trained to listen first and think later, and it's almost like a delayed response. Like, you know, like today I was sitting there and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, how was I doing all of that? I've been that well, and I was laying down and I was just feeling so weak today. Energy, strength, everything gone. And I was just laying there, and I don't know, I'm just going to say it like I believe it was God that spoke to me and just said, you know, you need to rest and get better. And it was like a little joke that God bust with me, like, you know, like if I never did anything, like for the next however many years of my life, it would be okay, because of the all that I did in the ministry. And then I was getting flashbacks, but that might not have been God, you know, because I remember Survivor said that to me. So that could have just been something that my mind, like within my subconscious, brought to my remembrance, like my memory. Because I've got to be honest, guys, you know, it's going to take a long time for me to get out of this, you know, hyper religious way of thinking, to be fair. And this is why, I mean, ultimately, we're doing it as a collective, but I need this like as much as y'all need it, yeah, because this is helping me get out of it. So let's look at dreams, nightmares, and subconscious processing. Many survivors experience vivid dreams, nightmares, and hearing voices after leaving the cult. Why does this happen? So the amygdala and the hippocampus activity, which is a part of the brain, during REM sleep, the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that looks at the fear and the emotion, and the hippocampus, which is the memory part of the brain. So traumatic or fear-inducing experiences from the cult are processed here, resulting in nightmares. Because they're rewiring the brain through all of the fear-based programming, the indoctrination, through asserting control through our behavior, information, because ultimately all of the tasks and whatever, that's getting us into a rigid routine in which our whole world is revolving around the cult. Then they're doing up isolation, isolating us from all of our friends and family. They're doing up information control, then, you know, the thought control through all of the endless meetings and all of the indoctrination overnight, like through the messages that we're hearing 24 hours a day. So the brain is becoming rewired because we're just getting filtered with the information from the cult leader. It's an echo chamber. Everybody is echoing what the cult leader is saying because all of the information it's like a funnel coming from the top, and everything is just from top down. And they will admit proudly, like heavily, because they've been indoctrinated to see it that way. The anointing flows from Aaron's beard, top down. That's how they justify top down and micromanagement and surveillance and monitoring chair. That's how crazy it gets. That's the level that they take it to. Dreams are a natural way for the brain to process unresolved emotional experiences. So when survivors are saying to me, oh, they had this dream and, you know, it was Cece chasing them, you know, down some top, but Cece's scary though. Yeah. Woo! Yeah! Woo! I'm not gonna lie. So even out of the whole fix, so that is why, because chair, do you know what? I've got to keep this clean, chair. It's electrifying. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And again, that will go to like, we can link in unresolved grief as well here. You see that it's still in your subconscious, in your psyche, because of the fear-based programming. And again, you know what scripture comes to my mind as well, that the things which he feared greatly came upon him. And I think that's happening to my cult leader. Dreams are a natural way for the brain to process unresolved emotional experiences. So that makes sense because it's deep rooted in your psyche. It's unresolved. So it sits way back in the unconscious mind. So let's go back to the iceberg analogy. That's way beneath the water. We can't even see it. We don't even know it's there. And remember, trauma makes you forget as well. So you've cut off those traumatic experiences. That's why the PTSD and the CPTSD is so traumatic, because it's like we disassociate, we cut it off. It's like it never existed. And then it could be, I don't know, you could see them out like on the roads evangelizing, and automatically you just break down. You just start crying, having a panic attack, because it's that memory. It's just come back. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's a trigger in that part of the brain that's now surfacing. They don't have power over you. It's not demons. It's not this. It's not that. It's all psychology. All right. It's all trauma. So you've got to resolve those traumatic experiences some way, somehow. And that's why people recommend therapy. But even with therapy, survivors, you're going to need something like this alongside it. I'm not going to lie to you. Because what changed my life was when my sister goes to me, Leah, you can't just go to therapy and just expect a miracle, because you're going to have that same mindset as well leaving these environments. She's like, you've got to put in the work. You've got to go and do the research. You've got to find out about yourself. My sister's such a queen. You've got to see what type of therapy is good for what you're going through, like your mental health, the state of your mental health. For example, what's that one? CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I mean, I could deliver it. Social workers can deliver that, chair. Like, it's like putting a plaster over the trauma. That's what I feel. For short-term situations and whatever, it's okay. And I would say grab whatever you can, because having a space to just talk anyway. If you've been in these cults and you've had like these been in these hyper-religious environments, had exasperated, had exposure to exasperated demonology and all of that, then I would say that something like EMDR, yeah, or even talking therapy chair. CBT felt so fake to me on the phone with NHS. Yeah, because it's like, it's and I'm not knocking it because it does help some people, but I get what you mean. It feels a bit scripted. I'm saying that, like, the journaling, so you can kind of like shape these sessions, and talking therapy is always good, but you got to kind of put in that workout side of it as well, because going once a week, it's not gonna, do you know what I mean? It's just, it's not like therapy is not like these cults, do you know what I mean? All right, because they offer like all of these like miracle quick fixes, and there's no quick fixes, chat. They've just replaced it, because look, addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter whether it's shopping, whether it's eating ice cream, whether it's whatever. It's the dopamine, it's the psychology behind it. It's the dopamine, it's the adrenaline rush, it's the reason, it's the trauma behind why you have an addictive, like a personality disorder. Like, why is that? Why are you why do you need to have these addictive tendencies? Why do you need that? Some people can be addicted to the thrill and the rush, like the street preachers. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Yeah, so it's really important to unpack this, guys. And guys, you lot, have you seen my content on my main page? If you're not following me, Leon Order 7, go and check it out. I've been putting up, I think it's quite revolutionary. Looking at a deeper dive into the street preachers. Residual hypervigilance. Fear-based conditioning creates a heightened state of alertness. So you're always on edge. It's like you can't even sleep because you don't know, like, you know what I mean? If you're going to be called by the morgue, or, you know what I mean? It's like that. You're walking on eggshells, chair. Even while sleeping, the brain may misinterpret normal sensory input as threat, producing panic or auditory hallucinations in dreams. This is through the fear-based conditioning, because you can't really rest. Your brain can't really rest. It's always on alert. It's always, because there's so many tasks, and there's this expectation of you. And like, even the pastors, like, they'll say things like, you should be available. If it's 2 a.m., you should be up. You should be ready to do the ministry. Because do you know what they cover all of that in? The residual hypervigilance is a direct outcome of the radicalization through the ministry and the works rhetoric through the soul winning. That's the transcendent belief system. So that's how they do it. So you're on a hypervigilant state, because you could get a call from your shepherd, your leader. There's a meeting. All of a sudden, there's an emergency meeting. It's at 12 o'clock. You get a call. You're at work. You get a call at 2 p.m. We've got a meeting, Chalet, after service. And the service not finished until 11, 12. But remember that the service is finishing at 11 and 12, yeah? If they don't own the building, they got to pack it all up. Yeah. And then the pastor is going to have to have meetings with certain people. The shepherds, the people, the workers, the people who are in there 24 hours a day, they're going to be the last person to see the leader. Because all the other people who need it more or whatever, or don't cut, that's how they sell it to you, Jaya. I'm really proud of how I just break that down, Jaya. Mystical and symbolic content. So Jung's perspective. What Jung states is that dreams use symbols to encode emotional truth. And I do believe this. Dreams use symbols to encode emotional truth. Being chased or hearing voices may represent internalized control, guilt, or fear instilled by the leader and the rituals. So do you see that if you have a dream of them running down the road, but in the dream, they're not actually running down the road? What Jung is saying is that it's like that part of the subconscious, the psyche, it interprets it almost in a symbolic way. And then this helps us to encode the emotional truth. So that could be, you're running away from self. And the leader could, signify all of your past, traumas. And so you have to unpack it, because the psyche is very complex. Where Freud kind of broke down, what is it, the pre-conscious and then the subconscious. So there's many different, we're so complex, and so much so is the brain and the psyche and the conscious and the subconscious. We have, the biological side of things, where we've looked at the amygdala, the hippocampus, and then we have the psychology and the mind science behind it, which looks at, Jung's ideology of the psyche and the different compartments to the brain. We can go into the metaphysical side of things as well, and the neuroscience, which we will get into. And that's where we are now. Neuroscience behind subconscious fear and control. So the amygdala triggers fear responses and encodes emotionally charged memories. The prefrontal cortex normally evaluates risk and regulates emotion under cult conditions. It's suppressed by fatigue and high stress. The hippocampus consolidates memories, including traumatic and fear-laden experiences. Dopamine and oxytocin, ritual praise and group synchrony release these chemicals, linking obedience and participation to reward and bonding. So do you see that there's like a reward-based system? And also the street preachers, there's that dopamine and that adrenaline rush that they get from the thrill. They're like thrill seekers and the chase and not knowing what's going to happen in the conflict and all of that. I'm going to go to comments and then I'm going to kind of give my take on this. ID, the ego and the super ego. Yes, girl. A woman came crying online because she didn't marry her man because a so-called prophet told her not to. A lot of gal them in these spaces end up being single, like for the rest of their life, or like they'll be in their 40s. Some girls don't want to have kids, but some really do. But because of like all of the expectations and what they do up, and then there's not a lot of men. There's more women to men, and it's all political in there, and they want to get certain people married off first, and they use the marriage as a dangling carrot. So whenever the likes, especially the ones that are like spiritual daughters that are close to the monk, if they make a little mistake or they just want to control them, they'll like do things like postpone marriages. And so I've seen that done to so many people, chair. Do you see how this all links, guys? Because they are literally rewiring our brain so that now it's getting triggers as fear responses, and it's that part of the brain that encodes emotionally charged memories. So all of your experiences are within the self-sealing system. So it starts to get rewired to the way that the cult leader is thinking and the indoctrination. The input is like the indoctrination, it's all of the meetings, it's all of the preaching, it's all of that stuff. And then the outcome is total and full control. And so like our behavior, we have to be obedient, we have to be submissive, we have to be, so it's like we're not using critical thinking, we're listening and then we're thinking after, we're taking action and then we're thinking after. So it's like there's like even a delay. We're in cognitive dissonance, we're in mind altered states 99% of the time. So do you see that it's like that part of the brain is not even getting used? Because the prefrontal cortex, which is about, you know, like evaluating risk, regulating emotions, they don't want you to show any emotions. All the emotions gets controlled. So it's like when you want to cry, you got to stop yourself from crying. So they're regulating your emotions. They're changing. They're controlling how you feel, yeah. They control your prayer life. They control your intimate life. They control your marriage. They control your emotion. Everything, absolutely everything. Like it's just your whole life. It's your whole life. And I was in there for 18 years. So I've got to be, I'm no idiot. So I've got to be able to really break down what happened to me and what they did up to me in there. And I had to make sense of it to free myself. Because guys, I wouldn't even be in my right mind to sit here and speak to you today if I had not done this. Like that's how deep it is. But whatever I was saying, guys, you get the point, yeah. And then do you see where the oxytocin and the dopamine come into it? When we please them, when we do something right, then our brain is getting rewired and programmed to always want to do for this person. It's like all our energy, we're getting drained. It's all revolving around the person. Do you see what I mean? Then they're doing push and pull, and they're doing gaslighting, and then they're doing love bombing, and then do you know what I mean? It's all of those things. And then we get like, you know, like triggers from like childhood trauma, and, you know, like abandonment issues start to resurface and all of that. So that's why I'm saying to people, like, if you know you have like core morbid traumatic pasts, and that is just a plethora, so lots of different traumatic experiences. So you might have had a mum that was, you know, had an alcohol and substance abuse issue, and maybe a dad that was incarcerated, like in and out. Then you've got like a family that's all, you know, just does things that they're not supposed to. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like, I can't even remember what I was saying, guys. I've completely This is a natural response to trauma. Guys, it's just like they get you to really fear unalivement as well. That's something that since I've become more spiritual and less religious, I see things endings, like endings of cycles, like we've ended one cycle, and actually endings are not bad. It feels sad because that is like your transformation. That is like you taking back your power. It doesn't feel good, but it's like the diamond, like in the pressure. Yes, Lucy, a chat. I just seen it on my phone. It's like the diamond with the pressure. It has to go through that pressure at its raw form to be that, because it's like that diamond in the rough. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, endings are powerful. Even hair, everybody believes in different things. I don't believe it's the end hair. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like anything's going to be better than hair, chair. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's my mindset. But unalivement is a natural cycle of life, like endings. Relationships don't last forever, like family dynamics. We're not all going to be here forever, chair. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, whatever it is, I know I'm trying to think of other things, but nothing lasts forever. This combination explains why cult members may experience fear, paranoia, and nightmares long after leaving, because both their memories and their brain chemistry were shaped to encode the leader's authority and fear-based teachings deeply. And remember, this is rooted and this sits well in your psyche. To this day, we can get like brief psychosis, temporal psychosis. Remember, I've been talking about temporal lobe epilepsy. So it mimics like real epileptic fix, and it will mimic like real psychosis, but it's religious psychosis because it's based off that fear-based program. Because if we have something that happens, remember the exasperated thoughts as well. We might just have stuff that happens to so many millions of people around the world. But because of the fear-based teachings, which is in our subconscious psyche, we can't see, feel, touch, whatever, we will just know. It's like the iceberg is hidden. We'll only see it come to the surface when there's certain trigger moments or things that happen that exasperate that behavior. And that is through the indoctrination. Breaking the pattern. Knowledge as liberation. Understanding how the subconscious works is empowering. Knowledge also allows us to recognize why obedience, fear, and ritualized thinking persisted. Why nightmares or paranoia are natural responses to trauma, not signs of weakness or ongoing spiritual failure or spiritual attack. Friendships. That's one I was thinking about today, because I lost a really good friend from like college, like fresh out of secondary school, and I was so upset about it. Because this was like I felt like this was my real doggy, you know what I'm saying? And it's like I had to get used to, okay, I don't think that this friendship, we're going to be able to repair this. And it's absolutely, it's so heartbreaking. But when you close those cycles, you bring in new cycles, you bring in like new experiences, new friendships. But it's that painful process, because you're going to have to go through like a period of separation, like not having friends, like not, like spending time with self, to then be able to make friends, because now you know a bit more about yourself. Like, for example, me, there's a certain vibration, like a frequency. Do you get what I'm saying? I know that about myself. And because I know more about myself, I know if I'm vibing with someone on a certain level. So endings are not bad things. Endings of cycles, it's actually good. Endings can be really good. That's the key takeaway that I think we need to get from this, guys. That nightmares or paranoia are natural responses to trauma. They're not getting into your dreams and, being able to have any power or anything over you. And the thing is, you've got to remember that the battlefield is in the mind. So the more logically you think, the less power they have over you. You need to get out of that mindset. And that is why we need to deprogram. This is why deconstruction and talking about this is really good. A practical approach to what you can do. Conscious reflecting, so journaling, discussing memories or thinking critically about past experiences. This starts to retrain the prefrontal cortex. So this is really important. That's why I said this is a non-religious space, because for a lot of people, they've only ever really been exposed to like religious people within the same country, same culture. This is about hearing all different people, atheists, people of different faiths. Like, we need to feel uncomfortable, because it's like these groups were demonized, and now we're in a position where we can be open. And the thing is, what we need to understand is when you come into the real world, survivors have left these settings. Yes. And through our shared trauma and experiences, we should be able to just at least have respect for our fellow human through that shared experience, and say, do you know what? You don't believe in the same thing as me, but do you know what? I just have love for you as a human being. And if you haven't learned that lesson, that God is love and the highest frequency is love, so you should just love everyone, then you've totally missed it. And that's why I say that people church cult hop. And then it's like in cult psychology, they said that 95% of people that leave church cults will just church cult hop for the next 10 years. It's usually like, you know, like they get married and then it turns out to be ABUSE, and that's like the reality check that needed to happen. Or like myself, I needed to be in there for 18 years. That was just my path. Yeah. And that's another reason why I'm not out here thinking I can save everyone, because I just don't think I've got that power. And also it just drains you out. It makes you look old as well. I don't want to age before my time. The mind is resilient. By understanding the brain science and psychological mechanisms of cult control, survivors reclaim agency, clarity, and self-trust. Knowledge really sets the mind free. And that's what it is, guys. For lack of knowledge, my people perish. I say it all the time, Chair. So if you're watching on YouTube and Instagram later, thank you so much for joining me. And remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all.